Okay, maybe I can address this. We also have similar challenges here because we also have all postgraduate students, some with work experience and some who are freshers out of engineering colleges or other institutes. And they also are facing similar issues. Now, what we have done for them is we have designed a course which is an experiential course on leadership attitude, leadership development. So, we take them through lots of experiential learning. And at the end of every trimester, because we follow a trimester system here, the student is asked to write down a self reflection diary depending on what kind of experiences the person has been through, be it while working with other peers on group assignments or any other co-curricular activity that the person has taken part in, or any extracurricular activities and life in general. So they look at the different ways in which they have dealt with these situations, what have been their learnings therein, what are some of the competencies that have helped them deal with those situations, and at the end of this self-reflection diary they are also asked to note down their strengths and at least two areas of improvement which they have arrived at after discussing with their peers. So they are working in groups for different assignments. The peers give them a feedback about where they need to improve, and that also is from a list of competencies, the desired competencies that they need to develop, and that helps them. And after this is done, the self-reflection diary is completed. They submit it to the concerned faculty. It comes to us, after which we have a one-on-one dialogue with the individual, and this is done at the end of every 3 months. So we are in constant touch with the students right from trimester 1 to just before placement time. So that is the end of trimester 4 for us here, right? And of course it begins with the administration of a psychometric test which helps them understand their own competencies, skills, their strengths and their areas which they have to work upon, and is followed by individual counseling by the faculty. So it begins with a psychometric test followed by counseling, development of an IDP, an individual development plan, which again is done in consultation with the faculty. And after that, at the end of every trimester, the student submits this self-reflection diary, which is then followed up by a one-on-one discussion with the faculty member. So it takes a lot of time and effort on the part of every faculty member who is involved, but then it actually leads to very positive results, which we've been seeing over the years now. And I'm sure there would be similar, initiatives happening in other institutes as well. So we could also learn from the collective wisdom of all colleagues here.
Just one clarification, ma'am. The self-reflection diary, is it confidential or will they share it?
It is only between the student and that one faculty member who is mentor to the student. Nobody else has access to it. But then it is written by the student after his own reflection and after getting inputs from peers.
Thank you.
Great. I think, Dr. Manushi, you could continue with your methods of dealing with stress.
I think I'm done with the stress. Now I'll look at some difficult emotions to handle.
Yes,
And I will need permission to share my screen for that. If you could stop sharing, Dr. Mohit.
I have already.
Oh, you did? Okay. So let me now, friends, let me, begin with sharing a 10-minute video with you. Right? Uh, okay. Just give me a minute. I hope this is visible to you now.
बाहर
Yes, madam.
आज
And audible as well.
हालचाल हम देखते तो बस एक बार न्यूज़
Yes,
ऑन
madam.
करने की ही जरूरत है या एक न्यूज़पेपर ही उठाने की जरूरत है और पढ़ते ही या देखते ही वो एंगर हमारे अंदर भी इतना क्रिएट हो जाता क्योंकि हम देखते हैं एक देश दूसरे देश के अगेंस्ट, एक धर्म दूसरे धर्म के अगेंस्ट, एक शहर दूसरे के अगेंस्ट, एक टीम दूसरे के, एवरीवेयर वी आर फाइंडिंग दैट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, कि एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है इतना ज्यादा और वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एक एंगर जनरेट करता है कहीं फैमिलीज के अंदर। वो भी सारा दिन आज मीडिया में दिखाई देता कि फैमिली के अंदर ही ब्रेक डाउन है। तो चारों तरफ से एक नेगेटिव वायुमंडल तो है ही, लेकिन हमारा सारा दिन ध्यान बहुत ज्यादा उसकी तरफ होता कि बाहर क्या हो रहा है। और इस प्रोसेस में कहीं रुक कर अपने आप से पूछना होगा कि बाहर तो जो है तो है, that we can do what we can do about, लेकिन अंदर का क्या हालचाल है। बाहर बहुत एंगर है, बहुत नेगेटिविटी है और वो देखकर हमें अच्छी नहीं लगती और वी सिट डाउन एंड से ये दुनिया कहाँ जा रही है, व्हाट इज द वर्ल्ड हेडिंग टुवर्ड्स, समाज का क्या होगा, घर में लोग एक दूसरे को मार रहे हैं, लेकिन अंदर क्या हालचाल है, एंड हु विल आस्क दैट, वो मेरे से कौन पूछेगा। आई हैव टू आस्क माई सेल्फ कि अंदर नेगेटिविटी है या प्योरिटी है या पॉजिटिविटी है। कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं बाहर का एंगर इतना है जो मेरे अंदर भी उतना एंगर ही क्रिएट हो रहा है। तो आई नीड टू स्टॉप एंड चेक दिस कि मेरे अंदर क्या हालचाल है। कई बार क्या होता, हम जैसे हमने पहले भी बात किया, हम बुक्स तो पढ़ते हैं, इस तरह से प्रोग्राम भी सुनते या ट्रेनिंग सेमिनार्स अटेंड करते, सब कुछ करते हैं और ये सारी चीजें हमारे सामने सत्यता को लाकर रख देती हैं। क्योंकि क्रोध, इस पर अब कोई डिबेट करने जैसी बात नहीं है कि ये राइट है या रॉन्ग है। आई हैव टू आस्क माई सेल्फ कि ये मेरे लिए सही है या नहीं है। लेकिन सच जानने के बाद फिर भी उस पर काम नहीं करना, फिर भी कोई स्टेप्स नहीं उठाना जिससे आई कैन गेट रिड ऑफ इट, तो ये तो अपने आप से धोखा है।
लेकिन यही से शिवानी, बहुत से लोग ये भी एक कंफ्यूजन या जिस दौर में हम रह रहे हैं कि मुझे सच पता चल गया तो समझ गया, बस हो गई बात, कि मुझे इम्प्लीमेंट भी करना है कुछ कैसे ये हो पाएगा क्या। और ये जो एक जो सो कॉल्ड अध्यात्म की हम बात कर रहे हैं कि आज जब मुझे पता तो चल गया, हाँ ठीक है, मुझे भी पता है कि गुस्सा नहीं करना चाहिए, मैं मानता हूँ इस बात को, मैं मानती हूँ, तो फिर अब क्या करना है।
क्योंकि सच बहुत सिंपल है, गुस्सा क्या है वो भी बहुत सिंपल है, उसको ओवरकम करना है वो भी बहुत सिंपल है। लेकिन होता क्या कि जब सत्यता सामने आ जाती है तो वो एक शीशे का काम करती है। इट इज अ मिरर टू माई इंटरनल स्टेट, और वो सत्यता मुझे दिखाती है कि कहीं ना कहीं प्रॉब्लम अंदर है, कि अंदर ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम बहुत सारे ऐसे मान्यताएं, बहुत सारी ऐसी बिलीफ सिस्टम, परसेप्शन, दृष्टिकोण ऐसा बन चुका है जिसने मेरे थॉट्स को उस डायरेक्शन में बनाना शुरू कर दिया है। तो अब अगर मुझे उसे चेंज करना है तो मुझे अंदर काफी सारा वर्क करना पड़ेगा, और वो कहीं ना कहीं डिफिकल्ट लगता है।
Are we ready? That's what.
वो डिफिकल्ट लगता है, एंड देन वी से इट्स ओके, आई एम ओके द वे आई एम, क्योंकि जहाँ परिवर्तन की और मेहनत की अंदर पे बात आती है तो हम कहते नहीं जैसे हैं ठीक है, क्योंकि हमने कंफर्ट जोन क्रिएट कर दिया है।
तो उससे भी पहले मुझे लगता है उसकी जरूरत ही नहीं है मुझे अंदर काम करने की। ये जो इससे
मुझे जरूरत नहीं है भी, क्यों? क्योंकि हम अनकंफर्टेबल रहते हुए भी कंफर्टेबल बन चुके हैं। इट्स लाइक दिस कि सपोज ये कुर्सी कंफर्टेबल नहीं है, इट्स गिविंग मी अ लॉट ऑफ पेन, लेकिन रोज उस पर ही बैठे हैं तो बैठते बैठते इस अनकंफर्टेबल कुर्सी पर बैठने की भी आदत हो जाती है। एंड वो जो दर्द वो दे रही है उसको भी हम स्वीकार कर लेते हैं, because I don't have another option, let's say, I can't change my chair, so I accept this pain and I accept this discomfort, और इस पर ही मैं अपने आप को कंफर्टेबल कर लेती हूँ। I say okay and I get used to sitting on this। तो इसी तरह वो जो कंफर्ट जोन हमने क्रिएट कर लिया, गुस्सा दर्द देता है, गुस्सा तकलीफ देता है अंदर, हमें पता है, लेकिन उसी के अंदर हमने अपने आप को कंफर्टेबल कर लिया कि ये ठीक है, दिस इज ओके। तो अनकंफर्टेबल में भी हम कंफर्टेबल रहने लग गए हैं, अनहैप्पी होते हुए भी हम अपने आप को हैप्पी समझने लग गए हैं। सो दिस इज अ वेरी बिग इल्यूजन या ये एक चीटिंग है अपने आप से। तो उस कंफर्ट जोन से कहीं ना कहीं हमें बाहर निकल कर आना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ये गुस्सा मन पर तो नुकसान करता ही करता है और हमारे शरीर पर भी नुकसान करता है। एंड इट्स नॉट दैट वी आर ऑल इन द सेम थिंग। अगर आप चारों तरफ देखें तो इट्स लाइक अ स्पेक्ट्रम, हमें हर तरह के लोग मिलेंगे समाज में। एक तरफ हमें उस तरह के लोग मिलेंगे जो दुनिया में छोटी से छोटी जो बात हो रही होगी उस पर उनको गुस्सा आ जाएगा। न्यूज देखते हुए भी उनको उतना ही गुस्सा आएगा जितना उन लोगों को आ रहा है जिनके साथ वो अत्याचार हो रहा है। इतना ज्यादा इमोशनल डिस्टर्बेंस है। थोड़ा सा बीच में आए तो उस तरह के लोग मिलेंगे जिनको उस बात से बहुत ज्यादा नहीं फर्क पड़ता कि दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है। दे विल लिसन एंड दे विल से ओके इट्स एक्सेप्ट। लेकिन उनके जीवन में, उनके नजदीक, उनके ऑफिस में और घर में जो छोटी छोटी बातें हो रही है उससे उनको काफी गुस्सा आ जाता है। और एक एंड ऑफ द स्पेक्ट्रम पे वो लोग मिलेंगे जो इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ जो भी हो रहा है, एंड देन इट मीन्स जो भी कुछ भी, चाहे बाहर चाहे उनके आसपास, उनको गुस्सा नहीं आता है, बिल्कुल नहीं आता है। जिनको हम कहेंगे द इनलाइटेंड पीपल, दे विल नॉट लूज देयर कंट्रोल, दे विल नॉट गेट एंग्री। तो हर प्रकार के लोग हैं। अब मुझे अपने आप को उस ग्राफ के ऊपर ऑफ 1 to 10 मुझे अपने आप को रख कर देखना पड़ेगा कि वेयर एम आई। एंड देन देयर आर सम काइंड ऑफ पीपल जो कहेंगे कि गुस्सा अगर नहीं किया तो ये सारी जो गलतियां हो रही हैं समाज के अंदर, इसको ठीक कौन करेगा। तो उन्होंने जैसे अपने ऊपर ये जिम्मेवारी उठाई हुई है कि उनके गुस्सा करने से जो गलत हो रहा है वो सही होगा, जिसको आपने कहा राइटियस एंगर। वो अपने एंगर को भी राइट जस्टिफाई कर देते हैं। तो इट्स नॉट फॉर एनीवन एल्स टू टेल मी व्हाट्स राइट और रॉन्ग। आई हैव टू आस्क माई सेल्फ कि मेरे लिए क्या, डू आई फील एंगर इज गुड फॉर मी? If yes, live on with it. Live on with it, but then don't complain. Don't say कि मुझे तो खुशी चाहिए, मुझे तो शांति चाहिए, मुझे तो प्यार चाहिए, मुझे तो सबके साथ बहुत अच्छे रिलेशनशिप्स चाहिए, मुझे एक बहुत अच्छा करियर चाहिए। Because both these things साथ साथ नहीं चलेंगे।
ये कोएग्जिस्टेंस नहीं हो सकता, पीस और एंगर का कोएग्जिस्टेंस। दिस इज व्हाट वील हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड एक्चुअली।
तो हमें चाहिए कुछ और, लेकिन हम कंफर्टेबल इसके साथ हो गए हैं। इट्स लाइक आई एम सिटिंग ऑन दिस चेयर, आई एम नॉट इवन मूविंग, और फिर इस पर बैठकर मैं कंप्लेन भी करती रहूं, ये कुर्सी ठीक नहीं है, ये कुर्सी ठीक नहीं है। सो यू विल से गेट अप, मूव, चेंज योर चेयर। इट्स सो सिंपल। लेकिन रहना भी गुस्से के साथ है, लेकिन मुझे शांति चाहिए, मुझे शांति चाहिए।
बिफोर वी मूव ओवर टू कि कौन कौन से किस किस तरह के गुस्से होते हैं, एक और बात मैं कहना चाहूंगी कि जो जैसे आपने कहा, एक वो लोग हैं जो कोई भी सिचुएशन आ जाए उसमें नाराज नहीं या गुस्सा नहीं होते हैं, लेकिन उससे पहले एक और भी ऐसे लोग हैं जो शो नहीं होने देते कि उन्हें गुस्सा है,
लेकिन वो गुस्सा तो हो रहे हैं।
वही वो एक और मेजर चीटिंग है कि कहीं ना कहीं वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अंदर जिसे इंटरनलाइज कर लेते हैं और उसको वो फिर कहीं ना कहीं किसी रूप में निकल रहा है।
वो सबसे पहले तो अपने शरीर पर निकलेगा, लेकिन इसका भाव ये भी नहीं है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग इस भी बिलीफ के साथ चलते कि अंदर नहीं रखना चाहिए इसलिए निकाल दो। अगर मैंने अपना गुस्सा अंदर रख दिया तो वो मेरा नुकसान करेगा अंदर, तो इससे अच्छा अगर आपने गलती की थी तो आप पे मैं वो गुस्सा निकाल दूं।
अल्टीमेटली बात यह है ना, अंदर ना बाहर कहीं नहीं रखना चाहिए।
बट अगर हम उस तरह से उसको चलेंगे कि अंदर नहीं रखना है तो बाहर निकाल दो, तो हम बाहर निकालते ही जाएंगे, निकालते ही जाएंगे। वेयर इज इट गोइंग टू स्टॉप? सो समवेयर, जैसे इस मेडिटेशन के करते दौरान हम जिस यात्रा पर चले, तो माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस हैज बीन कि समवेयर यू हैव टू फर्स्ट स्टॉप आउटसाइड। आपको, क्योंकि उतना लेवल नहीं है हमारा एकदम से कि बिल्कुल मन में भी गुस्सा नहीं आए। अल्टीमेट स्टेज वो है कि थॉट में भी एंगर नहीं आएगा, लेकिन एकदम से हम सोचें कि वो वाली स्टेज अचीव हो जाए तो वो नहीं हो पाती है। आइडियली होता क्या है, यहाँ गुस्सा आता है और ये बाहर निकल कर आता है। अब अगर इसको हम नहीं रोक पाते, कि यहाँ नहीं रोक पाते, एटलीस्ट हमें इसको यहाँ रोकना पड़ेगा। एक बार वो यहाँ रुकेगा, बिहेवियर में आप कॉन्शियस रहेंगे कि चाहे कोई कुछ भी बोले, चाहे कोई कुछ भी करे, आई शुड नॉट रिएक्ट, and you will consciously keep attention in it for some time, and you will see that आप बहुत जल्दी उसको अचीव कर पाते हैं कि अगर आपने डिसाइड कर लिया आप नहीं रिएक्ट करेंगे तो आप रिएक्ट नहीं करेंगे। तो एटलीस्ट उतना नुकसान खत्म हुआ। तो बहुत सारी एनर्जी जो इस तरह से डिस्चार्ज होने वाली थी, रिलेशनशिप्स बिगड़ने वाले थे, वो रुक गया। देन इट्स अ जर्नी। तो नाउ नेक्स्ट स्टेज इज, ठीक है मैंने बोला नहीं, मैंने कुछ गलत किया नहीं, लेकिन अब मुझे गलत सोचना भी नहीं है।
Okay, so I hope that video made some sense in this context. Friends, before you joined this FTP, you had been asked about some of the issues and challenges that you would like to, that you are presently being faced with, or you would like a discussion on pertaining to emotional intelligence. And we received a few responses from you, but then that was not something about any specific challenges or specific situations that you wanted us to address. But most of them were talking about some negative emotions like anger and maybe how to deal with difficult people, the so-called difficult people. So I thought in this session I will discuss the same with you, and for that let me get back to my presentation, which I would again like to share with you. Really don't know what's happening here, because just give me a minute. I think I need to, again I'll say, please empathize. These are difficult times that all of us are learning to deal with. And once we are able to empathize, that is probably the beginning of a better relationship management. So I hope it will work now. Yes, it is working. Okay, so I chose to talk about and I do a full screen thing, it goes back to the first slide. Okay, so I thought we've been referring to this saying by Aristotle right from day one, when we said that anybody can become angry, that is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, and at the right time, for the right purpose, in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. So, what is anger management all about? Here, the goal of anger management is to reduce both our emotional feelings and the physiological arousal that anger causes, and to get rid of or avoid all the people that enrage you, right? So that you can manage your reactions better. I showed you a video some time back, and we have here a few quotations from so many others. So we have Lao Tzu, a mystic philosopher of ancient China, who said that the best fighter is never angry. Stephen Richards, who is an author, film director, producer, said, "Do not let your anger lead to hatred, as you will hurt yourself more than you would the other." And then we had another quotation from Ambrose Bierce, who said that speak when you are angry and you'll make the best speech you will ever regret. Right? So we do understand that it is very, very important for us to manage anger well. So how do we deal with difficult people who make us angry and make life at times difficult for us? And because I've been reading all your messages on the group and listening to you that you've been asking for presentations, and probably you want something handy which you can have even after this FDP is over, I thought I'll put everything in this presentation, which becomes kind of a ready reckoner for you whenever you want to revisit this area of your learning. So, dealing with difficult people, we can't really deal with difficult people by trying to force them to change, right? So if we want to force people, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, then they don't really listen to us. So how do we deal with them? That's a big question. This actually requires us to raise our awareness levels about why exactly this person is behaving in this manner. What exactly is going on? Whenever we try to force anyone to change, they either resist us or resent us or maybe both. And as a result, it becomes very, very difficult for us to motivate them because they are also trying to defend themselves, right? And when I was trying to put this presentation together for all of you, one thought came to my mind was, aren't we also looking at something which is very, very similar, what Newton called his third law of motion? Yeah, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So whenever we are trying to force someone to do something or to behave in a certain manner, there is probably an equal and opposite force coming back to us, which is trying to resist that change or they resent us because we are forcing them to behave in a certain manner. And we can, relate this even in the context of our own students or maybe even family members, right? So what is the belief we have about difficult people? Why do we actually call them difficult? Because many a times we believe that they made us feel this way. God, this guy made me so angry. Okay, so therefore he is difficult to behave with, to deal with, right? We want to be real careful about holding on to this belief, because when we hold on to this belief, we make this person the most important person of our life. We are focusing on this person, we are thinking about him so much for such a long time that we give undue importance to this person, which the person actually doesn't deserve. I mean, we have so many other things to take care of which are more significant in our lives, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, to what degree do you want this person to run your life? Only 0. Right? On a scale of 1 to 10, you are giving him the significance or importance of 0. Right? So, but then when you are allowing this person to define your emotions, to have such a great impact on how you feel about him, or what kind of an emotional situation you are in at that time, you are actually allowing him complete control over your life. Okay, so how to raise our awareness about this? What do we need to do in this regard? We probably need to recognize that it doesn't really make us feel this way. We need to raise our awareness to this level. It is our belief about them which makes us interpret their actions in such a negative manner. So maybe they did not really intend to do us harm, but because of our prior experience with this person, we already have that preconception that this person is going to behave in a negative manner, and therefore all his behavior appears to be negative in our eyes right now. So therefore, if we change our perspective, the entire dynamics might change. We may be able to perceive them in a new light. So let's look at a few principles which will help us behave more effectively in such a situation. Now, the first principle that I would like to talk about in this regard is to seek to understand first. Okay, so the difficult people are going to be in the active mode. What do we mean by the active mode? They are going to vent out their feelings in front of you. So they may be, shouting at you, expressing their displeasure at you, or maybe just resenting whatever you are asking them to do, or the way you want them to behave. So if we also are active, and we also, keep engaging in that, what should I say, an outburst maybe, or if we also tend to lose our temper, we will end up creating a conflict situation wherein there will be, accusations from both sides leading to no concrete constructive result. So therefore, what we need to do is, rather than being active, we need to be receptive. And what do I mean by being receptive? You recognize the fact that when people are difficult with us, they feel they have a reason to be difficult. I mean, this behavior from them on their part is not without any basis. So there must have been a reason which kind of triggered this off, right? So understand why they are behaving in this manner. Understand the reason why they are behaving in this difficult fashion, right? Listen to them. Listen for the key to their cooperation. And here when I say, listen, I'm talking about active listening, when you are just not listening to what they are speaking, but also you are trying to understand them by observing their behavior, and also look at all sorts of non-verbal gestures, behaviors, which will give you some cue about why they are behaving in that manner and what is their level of agitation, right? So listen for the key to their cooperation. What is it that is creating so much of discomfort in them, and which has kind of flared them up, and what will it take to resolve this conflicting issue, right? And then demonstrate to them that you've actually heard them by paraphrasing what they've just said. So when you keep checking with them, okay, so do you mean to say that this has happened, or did I get you right? Did you actually mean to say this? So when you kind of paraphrase and keep checking with them every now and then about what they wanted to communicate, what was the intention, and whether you have understood them right or not, that probably is going to convey to them that you are receptive. So what have you actually done? You have also empathized with them. Okay, so this demonstrates to them that you understand how serious their problem is, and they need not defend their position anymore. Okay, so the moment you say you've asked questions and you've checked with them whether you've understood them right, and then you say, okay, now I understand what you're going through, now I understand the reason why you are so angry, right? Now I know why you are behaving in this manner, then probably it demonstrates to them that you've understood how the full gravity of the situation. Okay, and then they will probably start calming down, because they have already conveyed to you what they wanted to, and there is no further reason why they should be so much agitated. Okay, what do you do next? You finally now ask them, what are your ideas of solving this, and would you be willing to work with me on this? Now what are you doing? You are now showing your readiness to collaborate to ensure that this problem is addressed. Okay, and when I say the word problem, I'm reminded of a professor. So I was also attending a similar faculty development program, and this was a faculty from London who did not encourage using the word problem in the first sense, right? So he would refer to it as an issue, as a challenge, but never talk about the word problem, never utter the word problem, right? So if you would have noticed, I have also tried to avoid it, but not really been successful in completely not using it, right? So how can we work on this together? How can we solve this issue together? How can this challenge be addressed? And what do you want me to do on this? Probably shows your eagerness and willingness to collaborate in this on this, right? So finally, what have you done? You've listened to this individual, you have been able to understand, you've checked with him whether you've understood correct or not, you've empathized with this person, and now you are asking about the way forward, about how to deal with this issue, and therefore you've displayed all these three receptive behaviors of listening, empathizing, and asking, right? And once we've been able to do this, remember, my predecessors or the experts who've already addressed you before me have spoken to you about self-awareness, self-management, empathy, and then also relationship management. So that probably is the beginning of a very healthy working relationship, right? So now you move into that active behavior. So you've been receptive, and you've avoided the confrontation and the conflict. You've been successful at that. Now you move into the active behavior by starting to work on the solution that you have jointly arrived at. So after this discussion, you've been able to put in concrete terms what needs to be done, what action has to be taken, and probably you have also identified what your individual roles in this regard are, right? So what the other person needs to do, what you need to do, and now your active behavior begins. So you are offering solutions by blending their ideas with yours, and you're trying to implement them in the best possible manner for the best possible outcome, right? Uh, okay, so before I go on to the next principle, any questions from you? I'll just wait for a minute and then continue.
Not necessarily based on your. There are some people who don't show any emotions. How to deal with this? They don't exhibit. They are just numb. What could any inputs on this?
Okay, good question. There are some who believe that showing emotions makes them vulnerable, and we'll talk about emotional vulnerability. Yes, but then yes, this is another. Madhuri ma'am, I'll come to your question. Let me please address this one first. Um, there is another psychological, concept which we call agreeableness. It has to do with a personality trait, where those who are high on agreeableness are the ones who display a lot of warmth in whatever they are doing, right? So you feel very eager to talk to them. You feel so nice. You think that they have understood what you were trying to convey to them. They show a lot of interest in what you are saying. They would also go out of the way to offer you suggestions and advice about how you should be dealing with the situation, and you feel so comfortable interacting with them that you also go to the extent of sharing your secrets. You can confide in them very easily, and you also feel very confident that the person will keep the secret to himself and not go and tell the world about it, right? That's somebody who displays very high level of agreeableness. And on the other hand, you can have people where I'm sure many of you would have had this experience, that you go and talk to somebody and it seems as if you are talking to a wall, or maybe you get this feeling you are talking to a rock. Now why do you get this feeling? Probably because this person is not showing any interest in what you are saying, uh, does not display any interest, no emotions, nothing, is probably preoccupied with something else, and just gives you a cold shoulder. And then come out thinking, why did I even go and interact with this person? It was no good. I was kind of banging my head against a wall. So there are people like that also. So these are like basic personality traits, and
What
we will have to.
that kind of personality? Those who are stone-like. Any name label for them?
These are people who are very low on agreeableness.
Oh,
In psychological parlance, we will call them, low on low on agreeableness. Because then after a few initial interactions, you don't really like to continue interacting with them because of the coldness that they display. Yes, Madhvi ma'am. Can you be a little louder, please? I can hardly hear you.
How is it now? Can you hear me now?
You're slightly better. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So this discussion regarding the first principle of how to be able to see. My certain experiences or the ones that I have come across, what I have seen is when you're listening to the other people, when there is a kind of a conflict between the two parties, and you know we are listening to them, and then we are like trying to empathize with them and share with them. They are very fun. until when we are accepting whatever they're saying. But inherently, if the other party has a perceptual problem, right? Inherent perceptual problem that where they're not trying to understand the situation, or they're not trying to, even if they're aware, not ready to actually accept the situation, and they don't, they're not ready to change themselves, or come to terms with the situation. It is like until when we accept them, they're fine. But if we try to tell them that the situations are dealing with some kind of a settlement required on both the parties, it is like they're not interested. They do not come forward. Rather, they are also ready to cut down at the relation. So, uh, do you think there is something that we can do about it?
Yes, and when I progress further, probably you will get your answer.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of late we come across a lot of these kind of people in this society, even at the workplace, at the family level, at the interpersonal level also. I mean, at different levels I have seen people like, until when we try to accept everything that they tell us, it is fine. But the moment we are like, trying to tell them even in a soft way or a proper way, it is like sudden social distancing that people start doing. That is where I was.
But did you try, empathizing and then checking with them whether you understood them right? And did you try to do some kind of a joint action planning about the way forward?
Yes, it is like, as I said, empathizing and understanding the other party. It is like, after empathizing, we are like, yeah, I understand this is where you are. So, in your case, I help you or I support you for all these things. It is fine. Okay.
Ma'am,
Empathizing does
ma'am,
not
ma'am,
mean that
ma'am,
we are always helpful to them.
ma'am, can I stop you there, please?
Yeah,
Ma'am,
yeah,
can I stop you there?
yeah,
Okay, so the moment you become kind of prescriptive,
yeah.
I will tell you what you have to do.
Mm.
There's going to be resistance,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Until when we support, it is fine. When we become prescriptive, it is like, the resistance builds, and people go to any extent to
Yeah.
them.
So the moment you show that you give maybe the same amount of respect to the other person and look at it that this is something that we will do jointly,
Mm,
where there is trying to avoid a situation of power imbalance.
mm,
So you and I are at the same level. Okay, let's address this together and see what is the best possible outcome we can achieve jointly.
mm.
Then probably it will become a little different. So please try it out. Instead
Yes,
of saying, I will help you, okay, let's work on this together, probably might be a better suggestion to deal with this kind of a situation.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I also don't have all the answers. And let me again remind you about the boat picture. Like all of us are in different boats moving in
Right.
the same direction. Hopefully, we'll reach there sometime, sooner or later. But yes, maybe someone is a little ahead, somebody is a little behind, but then we are all in the same journey. That's the best, kind of comparison that I could draw. And that
Yeah.
was the reason why I quickly searched for those images from the internet and brought them together. Okay, so thank you so much for those questions. Let me move ahead quickly because we are also kind of hard pressed for time.
Yes.
Uh, okay. So coming back to my presentation. The next principle, now this is an interesting one. You stupid idiot rule. Okay, so what is this new rule here? Now, one of the reasons why people are difficult with us is because they think we are going to blame them or criticize them. Okay, so they think that let us do it before the other person does it. So, they would begin the blame game, or they would be the first ones to display anger and become difficult for us, right? So, what should we do? Follow this rule, which says that never say anything in a manner where you can add the words "you stupid idiot" at the end. For example, why didn't you read the manual? You stupid idiot. Why can't you do that? You stupidity. So what are we trying here? You know, pardon me for using these words here, but then it was, the whole idea was to introduce some bit of humor also over here, because when we are using such sentences, we are actually blaming the other person or criticizing the other person. And who likes to be blamed or criticized? None of us. So obviously, then there is more resistance, more resentment, right? And also, one thing we need to be careful about is to replace the word but with and. So even if we are discussing something and we keep on using the word but then you should have done it. All is okay, all is going well, but why did you do it? Why did you begin this heated discussion? So but will, keep the problem, again I'm using the word problem, okay? So we'll kind of keep that kind of same situation going on and not really help you come out of it, right? But then and may help. So okay, and then what else can be done? So that would be another way of looking at it. Let's move on to principle number 3. What we are now saying is appreciate more than trying to convince the other person. Appreciate the other person for whatever he or she has been able to achieve. Okay, so most of the time we are busy trying to make others see our point of view, which never really works. So nobody else is probably going to have the same kind of perception, because all of us are different entities, different individuals. We've been through different experiences, we have different personalities, and therefore we see the same situation differently. We perceive the same situation differently. So, forcing somebody else to understand a certain situation the way we understand it is probably not really going to work 100%, right? So the more we tell the other person to agree with us, or the more we try to sell our idea or opinion to the other person, what are we doing? It's actually we are trying to prove his idea or opinion to be wrong, right? And nobody enjoys that kind of a situation, being told that he or she is wrong. But then everyone enjoys consciously subscribing to a point of view, because they have their own independent way of looking at things, and they have arrived at this viewpoint after going through so many of their own life experiences, right? So what do we do here? If we try to convince them, if we try to force our views onto the other person, it's not going to work. So what do we do instead? Appreciate the other person's point of view rather than trying to prove his point of view is wrong. Okay, so yeah, yes, you have a point there. And let me tell you that my experience is like this. So what are you doing? You are appreciating the other person for whatever conclusion or opinion he has been able to come up with, and then you are substantiating your own points, you're adding it up to make the other person see that there could be another perspective to it, which also needs to be looked at, right? And now let's look at principle number 4, which is building an emotional bank account. Now, what does that mean? Emotional bank account is actually a metaphor that I'm using here. It defines the amount of trust that has been built up in a relationship, right? So as I told you, we're moving from empathy to relationship management, and the emotional bank account will help us build up and then maintain this relationship. Okay, so for example, if I make deposits into an emotional bank account, what would those deposits be? Those would probably the way I have behaved with you. Maybe I have displayed courtesy, kindness, honesty, I've kept my commitments to you. So all that is in that reserve, in that emotional bank account of mine, right? And the more I invest and deposit in this emotional bank account, the more you will trust me. So your trust in me will depend on how much of positive behaviors I have displayed with you, how many positive feelings I have generated in you in the recent past, right? And once I've been able to deposit and have a good emotional bank account, now if I make any mistake, this emotional reserve of mine will probably be able to compensate for it. Okay, so probably you will be ready to forgive me now because you know I have not been like this all the way in the past. So if I have a habit of showing, on the other hand, if I have a habit of showing discourtesy, disrespect, cutting you off, overreacting, ignoring you, or maybe taking things, doing things on my own without consulting you, betraying your trust, what have I done? I have actually, overdrawn upon my emotional bank account. Now I'm not left with any balance. So then all the more reason for you to perceive me in a totally different light, right? So we need to, when we are trying to work upon a relationship, we need to build an good, good amount of deposit in that emotional bank account, right? And finally, I come to this concept of emotional vulnerability. Emotional vulnerability is, very simply put, the skill that allows you to acknowledge difficult or painful emotions instead of immediately avoiding them or reacting to them. So, you can at times use these emotions to your advantage, where you can express these emotions to be more effective in terms of whatever you are doing. So, when you can do this, you can begin to cultivate a far healthier and mature relationship with your emotions. Right? Let me give you an example. There would be professions where people are supposed to hold on to emotions because free sharing of emotions is not really desirable. Say, for example, take the example of, say, a surgeon who knows that he is going to perform a very critical surgery and is not really sure whether the patient will recover fully after the surgery or not. So, can he really display his emotions freely in that context with the patient or the family members of the patient? Not really, right? Or maybe when the pilot of an aircraft knows that he is not going to make a safe landing because of whatever reasons, maybe some technical glitches or weather conditions not being favorable, so he doesn't know whether all of them will escape alive or not. Can he really share this tension, anxiety, nervousness, panic with the people on board? Not really. So those would be situations where, emotions have to be withheld, emotions need not be or should not be expressed freely. But then there would be other professions where emotions are, used more freely to become more effective. For example, um, let us take the example of sports announcers. Okay, all of us have heard to, cricket match commentaries over radio in our childhood. Many of us, who are, in our 40s or so we've not had the benefit of watching television right from our early childhood. So maybe we've heard of commentary on radio. So, the amount of the announcer is watching the match live in front of him, but he is able to communicate that excitement, that dismay, that sense of achievement that people are experiencing there only by the way he is communicating those emotions to us, by way of voice modulation, by way of the tone that he's using or the speed at which he is speaking. So, he's using those emotions to be more effective at his job, right? And we've seen lawyers also using emotions to their own advantage, if not in the courtrooms, but then definitely in movies we've seen them, the amount of drama that they use to make their case stronger. So there would be professions where displaying you emotions and using emotions to your advantage is more desired, and that makes you more effective. So what is this emotional vulnerability? When you can display your emotions, you can begin to cultivate a far healthier and more mature relationship with your emotions. So we'll take just a few examples here. Maybe admitting that you are not good at something, so probably would make it clear to others that you cannot be the best at everything that you do, and therefore they also need to do their bit. So you've expressed your limitations and given them a very realistic um, idea about what to expect from you and what not to expect from you. That increases your effectiveness. Taking responsibility instead of blaming others. I think I need not elaborate on this, because if you've done something wrong, or maybe not intentionally, but something which went wrong, take responsibility instead of blaming others. That will ease out the relationship between you and the other colleagues or family members, whoever it is. And telling someone that they are being hurtful or insensitive. Okay, so if somebody cracks a joke at work, which is on you, and that is something which you consider is not appropriate, it has hurt you, it's better to communicate and tell the person, listen, this is not something I appreciate, and please see to it not to repeat it. Okay, so this also helps you to convey what is acceptable and what is not. And finally, when you tell someone you appreciate, admire, or respect them, I think that also works wonders. So, I have thanked you on the WhatsApp group also, because you have expressed your appreciation for me, and I think that has also helped me to deliver this session in a better manner. So, thank you for that. I will stop here for any questions. And if there are no more questions, then I will quickly share a few slides for your own reading. This is something I happened to source. I don't claim that this is mine, but I thought this will be a good summarization of most of what we have discussed in this session today. And that talks about uh, the A to Z of stress management. Okay, so we have used this particular thing has used the letters from the English alphabet to summarize all that we have discussed till now. So this is for your reading. I'm not going to speak anything. I'll just display the next few slides for you. So here you go. So sound of trains going. So we've taken some liberty with the letter X. So let us follow the alphabets on stress management to have a less stressful and more enjoyable life. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Manasi. It was definitely a very enriching experience for all of us. I wouldn't say a lecture because it has been an experience. Thank you so much, and I'm getting so much good responses from the participants. I thank the participants for the same. The first day when we started, and now that we are working on it, I feel so motivated that finally something good is coming out. And of course the credit definitely goes to our experts who are here, and a very big thank you to the experts. Thank you, Dr. Manusi, for your valuable time. And now in fact, we are always short of time somehow. It so happens. There's so much immense, potential of exploring this topic. And there are so good feedbacks that are coming. But we'll try to work with the schedule. Thank you, ma'am. And
Thank you.
we take your leave.
And
And
thank you to all
now,
the participants also. Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much.